Have you ever felt burned out, lost, or left behind in life? How come that person is so much more motivated? Or how enlightened or clear headed? Or how can they be so much more successful? Today we are going to answer these questions. And for this, we are going to rely on Ayurveda again, but a different part of it. Instead of doshas, we are going to focus on gunas this time. If you want to learn more about doshas, I will leave its link in the description. Let's get back on the topic. What are gunas and how they will help us in our lives or during our game cycles? For our purposes, gunas are states which we are in during our day or game cycles. There are three types of gunas, which are sattva, rajas, and tamas. Sattva represents the mental activity and clarity. When you are under sattvic influence, your thoughts become clear and you utilize your senses much more easily. Rajas represents the progress and productivity. When you are under rajasic influence, you feel motivated and you are being productive. Tamas represents the pleasure and rest. It also binds you to the life. When you are under tamasic influence, you feel rested and enjoying life. You can also be influenced by multiple gunas. For example, if you are under both rajasic and tamasic influences, you feel greedy. That means you are doing something both pleasurable and productive. We might also say profitable. On the other hand, if you are under both sattvic and rajasic influence, you feel inspired. We also call this state as the flow state. You become one with the work you do, both mentally and physically. You might also be influenced by sattva and tamas. While sattvic influence can take you anywhere, tamasic influence binds you to the moment, which focuses your mental activity to current events. This state is your preparation state. In this state, you can gain awareness about the situation. And final state is our survival state. Survival state is when you are under the influence of all gunas. Rajasic influence helps you so you can act for your survival. Tamasic influence tells you what you need for your survival. Sattvic influence will show you the paths you can take. More influence you feel, the more tired you get. That's why survival state will drain your energy. I usually try to go into all 7 states during my day. I sleep around 7 to 8 hours a day. Then give around 2-hour blocks to each state, which in total makes around 14 hours. Between blocks, I usually take 10 to 20 minutes of break for food and small entertainments. And remaining 2 to 3 hours can be spent in any way you like. You can even sleep 10 hours some days, if you don't have anything important. That way, I will be under at least 8 hours of rajasic influence, which helps me keep up with life. 8 hours of tamasic influence to avoid burnout, plus feel rested and motivated. And 8 hours of sattvic influence to gain awareness about where I am going in life. On my work days, Rajasic hours will be spent on work, and on my off days, they will be spent on cleaning, groceries, and other responsibilities. My tamasic hours will be spent on entertainment, relaxation, and needs. And my sattvic hours will be spent on discovery and mental activity. This can be applied to any encounter or game cycle as well. During your game cycle, you should discover, progress, and recover, which are sattvic, rajasic, and tamasic state respectively. Pure rajasic state is when you are getting closer to your victory condition. Pure tamasic state is when you are recharging. Pure sattvic state is when you are discovering. Rajasic tamasic state is when you are grinding for resources. Tamasic sattvic state is when you are recovering. Sattvic rajasic state is when you are performing your plan. And sattvic rajasic tamasic state is when you are solving problems. But when deciding to timings and ways to do this, you should also consider your doshic type as well. People who are high in kapha prefers to have a set schedule for blocks. In the meanwhile, people who are high in pitta feels much more comfortable when they could decide when to do their blocks. And finally, for people who are high in vata, I say as long as you spend around 2 hours for it, it doesn't matter when you do it. Because both doshas and gunas are part of Ayurveda, we cannot consider them separately. Casting spells or making mana-infused actions also relies on your dosha and current guna influences on you. That's why we should examine how each dosha combination behaves under each guna influence. Let's start with sattvic influence. Sattvic influence increases your mental clarity, which puts you on discovery state. Depending on your dosha, your mental activity takes a different form. For the swallow, being infused by sattvic mana gives them clarity on possibilities. For the lion, on the other hand, sattvic mana gives them focus on the best one. If the elephant becomes infused by sattvic mana, it gives them patience and calmness. In the cobra's case, sattvic mana increases their innovative ideas. Being infused by sattvic mana gives motivation to the bear. Once infused by sattvic mana, the horse gets a mental cleansing. And finally, the chameleon figures out what they need to be once they're infused by sattvic mana. Our next step is rajasic influence. Rajasic influence increases your productivity, which puts you on active state. Rajas also affects you differently based on your dosha. For the swallow, being infused with rajasic mana increases their mobility. For the lion, on the other hand, being infused by Rajasic mana increases their strength. In the elephant's case, being infused by Rajasic mana increases their stamina. If the cobra becomes infused by Rajasic mana, it increases their hitting power. But if the bear becomes infused by Rajasic mana, they become an unstoppable force. On the other hand, being infused with Rajasic mana makes the horse change themselves for the situation. And finally, once the chameleon gets infused by Rajasic mana, they blend into the situation. Now, let's cover the Tamasic influence. Tamasic influence reminds you of your body's, mind's, and soul's needs, which puts you on your recharging state. Much like the other two, Tamasic influence also changes depending on your dosha. For the swallow, being infused with Tamasic mana increases their desire for freedom, which helps them cleanse any restrictive effect. On the other hand, if the lion becomes infused with Tamasic mana, their desire for pleasure increases, which improves any restorative effects. But if the elephant becomes infused with Tamasic mana, their desire for peace increases, which calms them down. If the cobra gets infused by Tamasic mana, their desire for cooling down increases, which helps them recharge faster. In the case of the bear, being infused with Tamasic mana increases their desire for consumption, which helps them absorb resources faster. While the horse that is infused with Tamasic mana have an increased aptitude for being part of the system, which helps them reshape themselves into a useful form. And finally, the chameleon, who is infused by Tamasic mana, have the need to become something else, so they can take a new form much more easily. Okay, now we covered basic guna influences. But what if we are influenced by multiple gunas at the same time? Let's start with Sattvic Rajasic influence, which puts you into the flow state. Flow state is the purest state a person can be, because you have both mental clarity and productivity. This is the state where you become one with the thing you are doing. When the swallow becomes infused with both Sattvic and Rajasic mana, they become like wind. They move freely and avoid any obstacle that is standing in their way. On the other hand, if the lion becomes infused with both Sattvic and Rajasic mana, they become like flame. They start spreading everywhere, then surround and overwhelm every obstacle. And in the case of the elephant, being infused with Sattvic and Rajasic mana turns them into the earth. They start growing slowly but steadily, then outlast every obstacle that is coming their way. If the cobra becomes infused with both Sattvic and Rajasic mana, they become like lightning. They start hitting with extreme speed and strength, with pinpoint accuracy. But If the bear becomes infused with both sattvic and rajasic mana, they become like lava. Then start moving slowly but conquer every obstacle and absorb them. And if the horse becomes infused with both sattvic and rajasic mana, they become like snow. Then take the shape of what obstacle demands in order to lessen its impact. Finally, if the chameleon becomes infused with both sattvic and rajasic mana, they become like water. Then continuously change with the situation, just like water. Next in line is rajasic and tamasic influence, which puts you on your greedy state. Rajas, driven by tamas, pushes you to work for dopaministic rewards. It gives you the energy for chasing after what you desire. And obviously, what you desire changes with your dosha. If the swallow is infused with rajasic and tamasic mana, it'll increase its desire for freedom, which helps them escape any situation. If the lion is infused with rajasic and tamasic mana, on the other hand, their craving for result increases, which helps them pursue their target. But if the elephant is infused with rajasic and tamasic mana, their desire for perfection increases, which helps them train themselves much faster. While the cobra, who is infused with rajasic and tamasic mana, have an increased desire for results, which increases the impact of their actions. In the case of the bear, if they are infused with rajasic and tamasic mana, they have an increased desire for consumption, which helps them absorb resources much more faster. And if the horse is infused with rajasic and tamasic mana, their dutifulness increases, which helps them fulfill their part much more easily. Oh, and finally, if the chameleon is infused with rajasic and tamasic mana, their desire for changing themselves increases, which helps them transform much more easily. Now, before we reach our final combination, we should cover tamasic and sattvic influence, which puts you on your recovery state. Tamasic influence makes you become aware of your needs, and sattvic influence finds out how you can fulfill those needs. If the swallow is infused with tamasic and sattvic mana, they figure out where is the freest space is. While if the lion is infused with tamasic and sattvic mana, they figure out where is the strongest space is. On the other hand, if the elephant is infused with tamasic and sattvic mana, they figure out where is the safest space is. Now, in the case of the cobra, being infused with tamasic and sattvic mana helps them figure out where is the space which gives them the highest impact. But if the bear is the one who is infused with tamasic and sattvic mana, they realize where they can get the biggest resources. Being infused with tamasic and sattvic mana helps the horse realize where is an opening exists. And finally, if the chameleon is infused with tamasic and sattvic mana, they figure out what they should be doing next. And last but not least, balanced influence. This is the state where your survival is at stake. Tamasic influence helps you realize threats that bother you. Sattvic influence helps you figure out a solution. And Rajasic influence helps you take action, which are all needed for survival. If the swallow is infused with all the gunas, they start moving perfectly. If the lion is infused with all the gunas on the other hand, they start hitting perfectly. And if the elephant is infused with all the gunas, they become the unmovable object. In the case of the cobra, being infused with all the gunas helps them become much more explosive, while the bear who is infused with all the gunas becomes an unstoppable force. But if the horse becomes infused with all the gunas, they take the perfect shape. And finally, if the chameleon becomes infused with all the gunas, they can change themselves effortlessly. But is it possible to willingly put people in these states? In order to do that, let's look at it from the designer's perspective. Much like in other videos, let's cover PvP and PvE games differently. Key to managing gunas in PvP games is in level design. In PvP games, if you wanna influence them with sattva, create key locations or situations where other players can force each other to decide. That'll force each player to make important decisions. But if you want to influence them with rajas, create locations or situations where they have to react to the game's flow. That'll force each player to act. In the meanwhile, if you wanna influence them with tamas, create locations or situations where they can rest and recover. On the other hand, if you wanna merge sattvic and rajasic influence, give your players connection paths where they can chain their actions. That way, you can create the flow state. While, if you wanna merge rajasic and tamasic influence, create locations or situations where they can receive a reward for acting. That'll also give their actions a meaning. But if you wanna merge tamasic and sattvic influence, create locations or situations where they can stop the enemy aggression by interrupting their flow. This will create tempo swings, so your games won't become snowbally. And finally, create locations or situations where they have to face each other. This will influence them with all the gunas and create epic showdown moments. Now, let's cover the PvE part. If you wanna put sattvic influence on your players, give them meaningful options to choose from. On the other hand, if you wanna influence them with rajas, just give them simple encounters of your chosen challenges. Also, if you wanna know more about challenges, go check out my video about Holland codes and challenges. And for tamasic influence, just give them relaxation time, where they just get to experience beautiful moments. But if you wanna combine sattvic and rajasic influence, create encounters where the rules are changed. So they have to think about their actions more carefully. While if you wanna combine rajasic and tamasic influence, create safe spots where they can spend their resources. That way, there is a reason for gathering resources. Creating safe places before difficult encounters will influence your players with sattva and tamas, which helps them relax and be creative about problems they are going to face. And introducing big showdowns that are standing on their way to a big reward will influence them with sattva, rajas, and tamas. Because we are mostly in control of encounter design, we should create smooth transitions between different gunas. Our most important rule is adding or removing influences one at a time. This means if our players are under the influence of rajas and tamas, do not directly move them into sattvic state. Instead, first remove tamas, then add sattva, and finally remove rajas to move smoothly into a sattvic state. Now we came to the summarization part. First, there are 3 different influences that can affect us, which are called sattva, rajas, and tamas. Being influenced by all the gunas and their different combinations is a healthy way to live. If we are lacking the influence of even one of them, it will affect our lives badly. Depending on your doshas, different gunas can have different effects. We can use Ayurveda and Gunas to design levels and encounters, so they can smoothly enjoy all of their effects. Smoothly transitioning between them is the key to success. Hello. First of all, if you reached this part of the video, thank you for your support and best of luck on your journey. What do you think? Do you agree with what I told you? Or can you give me examples of different activities that infuses you with gunas? Are you lacking the influence of sattva, rajas, or tamas in your life? And if you like this video, I know you are smart enough to like and subscribe. By hitting the like button and subscribing to this channel, you can show me that you want more videos from me. In our next video, we will cover the most popular model in this field, which is MBTI, and how we can use it to understand our own tempo. Also, if you want me to dive into another subject, just let me know in the comments below. And thanks for watching.